the infinite, the sound that the blade of grass makes as it grows, was not pleased to see this. He also saw that Hans was greedy, and that his mother was too indulgent to this greediness. The naughty child often cried when he had, after grapes or an apple, to eat bread, object of envy to so many unfortunates, and his mother let him throw away the piece of bread he had commenced, or else finished it herself. Now it happened that Hans fell ill. Fever burned him. His breath whistled in his choking throat. He had croup, a terrible illness that has made the eyes of many mothers and fathers red. At the sight, the poor woman was filled with horrible anguish. You have doubtless seen in some church the image of Our Lady, clothed in mourning and standing under the cross, with her breast open and her bleeding heart, where lie plunged 7 swords of silver, 3 on one side, 4 on the other. That means that there is no agony more terrible than that of a mother who sees her child dying. And yet the Holy Virgin believed in the divinity of Jesus and knew that her son would come to life again. Now Hans's mother had not that hope. During the last days of Hans's illness, his mother, even while watching him, continued to spin mechanically, and the whirring of the wheel mingled with the rattle in the throat of the dying child. If some rich people find it strange that a mother can sit by the bedside of a dying child, it is because they do not understand what tortures poverty contains for the soul. Alas, it does not only break the body, it also breaks the heart. What she was spinning thus was the thread for her little Hans's shroud. She did not wish that any cloth which had been used should cover that dear body, and as she had no money, she made her spinning wheel hum with a mournful activity. But she did not pass the thread through her lips as was her custom. Enough tears fell from her eyes to moisten it. At the end of the 6th day, Hans expired. Whether from chance or from sympathy, the cluster of bindweed that caressed his cradle faded, dried up, and let its last curled-up flower fall on the bed. When the mother was quite convinced that the breath had forever flown from his lips, on which the violets of death had replaced the roses of life, she covered the too dear head with the edge of the sheet, took her bundle of thread under her arm, and made her way towards the weaver's house. "Weaver," she said to him, "here is some very fine thread, very regular and without knots. The spider does not spin any finer between the joists of the ceiling. Let your shuttle come and go. From this thread I must have an ell of cloth as soft as the cloth of Friesland or Holland." The weaver took the skein, set the warp, and the busy shuttle, drawing the thread after it, began to run hither and thither. The card strengthened the woof, and the thread continued to grow evenly and without breaking on the loom. It was as fine as the shift of an archduchess, or the linen with which the priest dries the communion cup on the altar. When all the thread was used, the weaver gave the cloth to the poor mother, and as he had understood everything from the settled look of despair on the unhappy woman's face, he said to her, "The emperor's son, who died last year while still an infant, was not wrapped in a finer or softer shroud in his little ebony coffin with silver nails." Having folded the cloth, the mother drew from her wasted finger a thin gold ring, all worn with use. "Good weaver," she said, "take this ring, my wedding ring, the only gold I ever possessed." The kind weaver-man did not wish to take it, but she said to him, "Where I am going I shall have no need of a ring, for I feel my Hans's small arms pulling me into the ground." Then she went to the carpenter and said to him, "Master, get me some oak from the heart of the tree, which will not rot and which the worms will not be able to eat. Cut from it 5 boards and 2 little boards, and make a coffin to these measurements." The carpenter took his saw and plane, trimmed the planks, and struck the nails as lightly as possible with his hammer, so as not to let the iron points enter farther into the poor woman's heart than into the wood. When the work was finished, it was so carefully and so well done that it might have been taken for a box to put jewels and laces in. Carpenter, as you have